on my way to making a point, and suddenly a really good analogy will come into my mind. And as I deliver it, I can feel that I really nailed it because it made the point that people were ready to hear. I'm often right in the flow of things. I really like being in the flow of things. So
I want to lose that track of time, and that's exactly what I generally feel when I am in class and I get involved and I feel the energy, and the students tell me they feel my energy too.
Perfect. This is a perfect grid filling in. You see, you couldn't do that a minute ago, but just now, just with that little bit of grid work. Now, so now you're telling us, I'm really good at this. I have the hang of this in other areas of my life. The students tell me, I have manifested evidence that I allow the grid to fill in moment by moment. So now, do you accept that? Did you feel a shift?
I do, but I end up receiving 20 calls, real estate related, every day.
But you see what you just did? What you just did, you just jumped out of that grid into another. Or even better, you began the creation of another grid that is premature. Because this is the grid that you're wanting to establish, because this is the grid that you want to fill in. You want the grid, think about it, you want the grid to fill in with ease and leverage. You want the conversations that you offer to matter. What you're really looking for is a property manager, maybe, but now we're sort of filling in the grid. You see what? But and so let's say the idea of a property manager comes and it feels pretty good, and then you get negative about that. Well, they're hard to find and they don't know what they're doing, and their personality.
Not only that, I changed too, and it didn't go well with either one.
That's what we're getting at, and so then you start filling in the grid with past experience that didn't go well. So general. Let's get back to the general. I like peaceful. I like calm. I like trusting that the universe is helping me out. I like being out here on this leading edge. I like knowing that Source is right here with me. I like knowing that I'm successful at so many things. I really understand this grid. I understand how it works. I get how if I achieve this emotional basis that other things will fill in. I've seen it happening all the time. This is a concept that would be easy to teach to others. We've been jumping too fast into action and not spending enough time in meditation and grid establishment. I'm going to practice this feeling of ease. I like the idea of practicing this feeling of ease. I'm not going to figure out how I'm going to get the ball in the hole. I'm just going to know that it'll get there, and meanwhile I'm just going to practice this feeling of ease. That really is the work, you see. Now visit with us a little more about this.
You want me to express additional feelings?
We want you to feel if the grid has inspired anything. We want you to feel if we've spent enough time on this grid that it is inspiring something.
Oh, I keep attracting thoughts related to how we would, what kind of experience I would have by being in a peaceful, inspired state.
So what your work is, you just want to not get too far ahead of this. In other words, some of the thoughts are going to come and they're going to feel comforting, and some of the thoughts are going to feel a little overwhelming, or they're going to remind you of something you tried that didn't work. So just back away from those and go back to the central. Are you following this? We are not kidding you at all. We want so much for you to feel from us the importance and you're right on the brink of doing this. You have the ability to focus your mind in a powerful way, which works for you when you are on a grid that is full of feelings of well-being, and works against you when you're focused upon a grid because you have power of focus. Power of focus and clarity of conceptualizing those thoughts into words. You are really, really good at that, which will help you down the road a little bit, because as the ideas begin to flow and you begin verbalizing them and forming more images around them, it will take you fast in the direction of what you're wanting. We see you at this basis, not by any means beginning, but a juncture that is going to turn for you. And this conversation that we're having here is going to be the turning point. And your work is to, the words that we want you to remember all of you, but especially you, because you have summoned it at this powerful juncture of your life experience. The words that we want you to take away from this seminar, powerfully remembering and often repeating, are these. I am not to fill in my grid. It's not my job to fill in the grid. Not my job, not my work, not my work, not my work to fill in the grid. Not going to jump on ideas too fast. Going to make sure that they settle in a really good way first. Going to make sure that I've done the grid work and that my chosen grid is my point of attraction, not my grid by default, not my knee-jerk grid, not my reactionary grid, not the grid that I created in my frustration or in my overwhelmment. That grid I'm going to let peter out by lack of attention to it as best I can. This is the grid, which means turn off your phone. Ignore things for just a little while. We're talking about a day or two. Do things that are peaceful and relaxing to you. Go to the place that feels the best to you. Spend some time just settling into it. Do you spend time in meditation?
Not really, no.
Meditation simply means quieting the mind. And quieting the mind really simply means focusing on a wee little thought. Because you can't shut your mind off without a lobotomy, which we are not recommending, or without some sort of substance which is distorted in other ways. But like focus upon a sound that you can hear in the room. Esther commonly will turn in a hotel room or something, she will turn on an air conditioner and then listen for its steady rhythm and just focus on it. Just think about what she's hearing. And very often it will take her right into that place of only thought about that sound, which is very little thought. She's not thinking about what's working. She's not thinking about what she's missing. She's not thinking about what she needs to do. She's not thinking about what she needs to do that she hasn't been doing. She's only thinking about something present in her now, and it will take her right into that place of ease. So that's something. Otherwise, go someplace that feels good to you and notice the ease in it. But don't work too hard at trying to manipulate it. Just conjure the grid and watch it fill in.
I will.
And it powerfully will. And then, what happens after you've established a grid? What's the next logical thing that will happen? Once you've established it, and we're talking about 17 seconds, and then another 17 seconds, and then another 17 seconds. By the time you get to 68 seconds, you've established a significant enough grid. Now, we're talking about 17 seconds without going off on a goose chase, and 17 seconds without going off on a goose chase. We're talking about 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, until you've got 68 seconds of not getting off on any tangents. That's enough to create a substantial enough vibrational, emotional grid that now thoughts that blend and mesh will begin flowing into your mind. And the first thoughts that will come are thoughts like, there's nothing for me to worry about. The first thoughts will come like, I'm right on track. Everything's unfolding nicely. I'm glad to know what I know. This is not going to be difficult. There must be a lot of non-physical energies that are helping me. There's a wonderful world out there. I'm looking forward to figuring this out. I'm glad I don't have to figure it out all at once. They will be more tangible, more specific thoughts that will flow to you, but they will dovetail and blend, mesh, merge perfectly with the grid that you've already established. And then another stream of thoughts, and then another stream, and then it will reach further into your environment where you will begin to notice that the phone calls are less. You will begin to notice that people are figuring things out without you. You will begin to notice that the universe is managing this much better than you could consciously do. Some years ago, when Esther was at her most overwhelmed state, we taught her the placemat process. We've talked about it through the years. And the placemat process, we're going to dovetail it now with this grid process because they are essentially the same thing. The placemat process, we encouraged Esther to take a placemat because she was at a restaurant that had a paper placemat. So we said, draw a line down the center of the placemat. And on the left side, write, things I will do today. And by that, we mean things that you pretty much got to do today in order to fulfill your obligations. And on the other side, write things that you would like the universe to do. And only put the things that you must tend to on your side. Well, what we were actually doing with Esther was teaching her to trust and release large quantities of things, activities that she felt like she needed to do, to leave it to the universe. It was the precursor to this grid conversation. Because the grid conversation says, you take the time, and it only takes a little time, to create an emotional grid. The universe will find the partners and friends and cooperative components to fill it in. And your work effort, the amount of time and energy and action that will be required of you, will be cut in half on the first day, and in half again on the second day, and in half again on the third day, until people will be looking at you and saying, what are you spending your time doing? And you'll just say to yourself under your breath as you walk away, because you know they won't get it, grid work. I'm doing grid work. Grid work. It's establishing yourself in the center of who you are and allowing all of the consciousness that has the ability to assist you. So when you get an idea about a property, it will be a good one. Jerry said to Esther the other day, she was writing with him, because she was talking about all of the things that she needed to do, and she wanted him to help her figure out where she should put her attention first. What are the things that matter the most? And in her overwhelmment, she wasn't even hearing his suggestions very well. So he just talked to her in very general terms, really general terms. Talked to her about love, talked to her about feelings of well-being, just really general terms, until she sort of settled down into the energy of that. And then he said something that made her laugh right out loud, and it made more sense than anything that she'd ever thought about relative to having too much to do. He said, remember the plate spinning act? He used to talk about the plate spinning act a lot, and the difficulty of keeping the plates spinning. And he said to Esther, some of the plates are spinning significantly, and they are stable. Some of the plates are wobbly. Let the wobbly ones fall. Let the wobbly ones fall. Because in your attention to the plates that are wobbly, you're getting wobbly. You see, where when you focus upon what doesn't need your attention, and you let what doesn't need your attention then be the basis that you establish for the next and the next and the next and the next, soon you discover how many partners and friends and cooperative components you have to assist you in all of this. And your satisfaction comes from knowing that you did the work. And as our friend said, that is such a glorious feeling of birthing the thought, and we're wanting to soften that by letting you know you didn't birth it when you let it appear in your grid. You birthed it a long time ago. You recognized the thought that had been birthed, and that recognition is just going to keep coming and coming. It's going to come in the form of ease. It's going to come in the form of lightheartedness. It's going to come in the form of funny people coming into your experience. It's going to come in the form of ideas popping into your mind at perfect times. And it's going to come in the form of ideas relative to the property acquisition and releasing and managing that you are all a part of. It's going to come in regards to all of those things. But as it comes, as each piece of it comes, once you've done this basic grid work, you're going to feel satisfied as it comes, and you're going to feel an integral part of it. Long before we were talking about the vortex, long before we were talking about the grid, long before we were talking about things moving downstream, really in the early stages when we were talking about you create your own reality, we were explaining to Esther that as you are focused in your now and you care about how you feel, that as you find that feeling place, everything will fill in around that. It really is finding the feeling place. And then we said, the only creation that is really satisfying is deliberate creation. And now we're saying to you, as an extension of that, what deliberate creation is control of your own grid, which means conjuring of your own emotions and maintaining it long enough that the universe begins filling it in. And this is the piece that we so want you to get. Filling it in with recognizable things. Recognizable things because you will recognize the vibrational essence of them, and you will know the part that you played in them. And there is nothing more rewarding than to meet someone and hear them say something and know that they came because of the work that you did, you see. It's delicious creating.
Beautiful.
We've been into some very deep stuff. Deeply, deeply, deeply satisfying stuff. Yes. Right here.